Going back to hometown for the Christmas/New Year's holiday, my cousin Fred showed us his phone's wallpaper. My girlfriend, the mayor's daughter. I'll introduce you to her when I have time. He turned and slapped his Rolls-Royce car key on the table. Tom Johnson, what's the point of reading so many books? In the end, aren't you still working for someone else? What a coincidence, his Rolls-Royce and his girlfriend are both mine. I sent Emily Brown a private message. When did you get another boyfriend behind my back? Emily Brown sent several question marks in a row. Wait, I'm coming to find you right away. I want to see who dares to impersonate my boyfriend. Visiting relatives on New Year's Day/Christmas Day, my whole family went to my cousin's house. After a few glasses of wine, he started showing off. This is Fiji water, more than $200 a bottle. Drink as much as you like, I bought too much last time and can't finish it. My cousin pushed a few bottles of mineral water in front of us and waved his hand generously. The relatives next to him marveled and looked at the water in their hands. 200? What kind of water is so expensive? Is it made of gold? Uncle George curled his lips and said disdainfully. This water is extraordinary, it can cure high blood pressure, it's imported. If it weren't for my son, you wouldn't be able to drink such good stuff. Uncle George asked me to find Fred a job the year before last, and he's already making big money this year? I remember Assistant Davis told me at the time that he had arranged a job as a security guard for him. How much can he earn as a security guard to be able to buy such expensive Fiji water? I remained silent, picked up a bottle of mineral water, and looked at it. It was authentic. I happened to have bought this brand at home too. I didn't like the taste and threw 2 bottles in the garage. Maybe he just likes this brand. I can't say much about other people's spending habits. Someone quickly flattered him with a smile on his face. Jack Smith is doing well, he must have made a lot of money outside. The food and things he uses are extraordinary. Among our generation, Jack Smith is the most promising. My cousin glanced at me and said casually, "It's okay, I just made a few $100 million. As he spoke, he took out his phone and waved it in front of everyone. This is my girlfriend, but unfortunately, she can't come to hometown with me this year because she has something to do. I'll introduce you to her when I have time." The girl in the photo was youthful and beautiful, and her clothes were extraordinary. Everyone cast envious glances. I was stunned for a moment. "Isn't this my girlfriend, Emily Brown?" A relative suddenly hissed. I seem to have seen her somewhere before. "Is she the mayor's daughter?" Jack Smith. Are you bragging? Jack Smith panicked and opened his phone. Look at her social media post on Valentine's Day. I'm her boyfriend. Everyone hurried to look, and I glanced at it and was speechless. Last Valentine's Day, Emily Brown was so happy to receive my gift that she specially posted a social media post to show her love. The caption read, "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. My cousin and I both have the last name Thompson, and I didn't expect this to give him a chance to pass off a fisheye as a pearl." I raised my hand and took a photo, and sent it to Emily Brown, typing to tease her. "You have another boyfriend behind my back?" In less than 2 minutes, Emily Brown sent a message. "What? I just had dinner with my parents. How did I get another boyfriend? Wait, I'm coming to find you right away. I want to see who dares to impersonate my boyfriend." Jack Smith was still talking eloquently, showing off in front of everyone. "I'll take you to my newly bought Golden Coast estate later. I've asked someone to book a table. We'll have Christmas Eve dinner there tonight." He patted my shoulder and raised his voice deliberately. "Tom Johnson, you work like a dog all year round. You finally come to hometown for Christmas/New Year's holiday, so you must seize the opportunity to relax. When we were young, Tom Johnson's grades were better than Jack Smith's, but I didn't expect Jack Smith to be more promising when he grew up. Yeah, What's the use of studying so much? In the end, you still have to work for others? These people were belittling me in their words, and I was too lazy to respond. In the business world, I have seen many people who praise the high and step on the low. But judging from my cousin's expression, I'm afraid he still resents me for not helping him find a job back then. At that time, I was starting a business with my classmates in New York City, and Uncle George called me and asked me to find Fred a good job. But my cousin only graduated from junior high school, and he didn't calm down to learn any skills at the technical school. What kind of job could I find for him? At that time, I did want to arrange for him to join the company, but I knew Fred's nature. If he knew about my relationship, I was afraid that he would abuse his power everywhere. But after all, we are family, so I had to help. So, at that time, I refused Uncle George on the surface, and then asked Assistant Davis to arrange for him to join the company. I especially mentioned to Assistant Davis not to reveal my existence. I thought that he would find a job and this matter would be over, but I didn't expect him to still remember it. I smiled helplessly and decided to let it go since I couldn't expose him in front of the relatives. Unexpectedly, seeing that I did not react, Jack Smith became even more aggressive. Tom Johnson, I heard that you went to started a business before, but what happened after that? You wouldn't be embarrassed to say that you lost all your family's money, would you? I heard that Uncle Tom Johnson wants to sell the house recently. Could it be because he wants to fill your hole? Tell your cousin. If I'm in a good mood, I can lend you some money. I rolled my eyes in my heart and sat aside. Over the years, I have already built my career, and several of my companies have been listed. As a president with tens of billions of dollars, I naturally understand the principle of not revealing my wealth. What's more, even if I told them, they would probably think I was bragging. My parents are selling the house because they are preparing to move in with me and dispose of the property here. This winter, I have already bought them a beach house in Miami Beach, and I am just waiting to go there for vacation after the Christmas/New Year's holiday. Of course, Jack Smith wouldn't believe these words. I raised my hand and poured Jack Smith a glass of wine and said lightly, "Thank you for your concern, cousin, but I don't lack money." Rejected by me, Jack Smith flashed a look of disdain on his face and thought I was pretending. He took out the car key from his pocket and slapped it on the table. Let's go to my newly bought Golden Coast estate for Christmas Eve dinner and show you the world." The car key looked a little familiar. I glanced at it and didn't take it to heart. Everyone surrounded Jack Smith and went out, flattering him and squeezing me into the corner. Just as I walked downstairs, I was stunned when I saw the orange Rolls-Royce parked there. The relatives were already praising him. "Jack Smith is promising at a young age. Uncle Thompson, you are so lucky to have such a promising son." Uncle George looked proud and glanced at me with his back straight. "What's the use of studying so much? Making money is the real skill." I didn't say anything and frowned at the license plate. "Isn't this Rolls-Royce the one in my garage?" I thought the color was too flashy, and I was too lazy to drive it after driving it a few times, so I left it in the garage to collect dust. How did it become Jack Smith's car? Just as I was about to ask, the relatives had already gotten into the car, so I had to shut up and send a message to Assistant Davis. During the Christmas/New Year's holiday, I gave Assistant Davis a 7-day vacation. He didn't reply to me for a while, so I had to get in the car with my family first. The car door closed, and I glanced at the small pendant in the car. This was indeed my car. Tom Johnson, didn't Uncle Tom Johnson say he wanted to sell the house? Coincidentally, I recently wanted to invest in the real estate industry, so why don't you sell the house to me? Seeing this car, I already knew that his so-called investment in real estate was just bragging. At the moment, I replied with a smile that wasn't really a smile. "How much does cousin plan to buy it for? Anyway, the money from selling the house is just a drop in the bucket for my family." For the sake of relatives, it wouldn't hurt to give him a 20% discount. I didn't expect that while I was planning to give him a discount, Jack Smith was asking for the moon. 300,000. How about it? I heard from the real estate agent that Uncle Tom Johnson is in a hurry to sell, so I won't haggle with you. We're all relatives, so I'll take a loss and buy it at a high price. I was stunned for a moment and almost laughed out loud. My house is in the city center and is in a school district. According to the current market price, it must be more than $3 million. He dared to offer 300,000? I wanted to give him a 20% discount, but he wanted to take it for 10% of its value. This price is too low. I smiled noncommittally and took out my phone to search for the market price in front of him. The rooms in the neighborhood were not less than $2 million. We're all family. The price you're offering is a bit too dark. Jack Smith's face darkened, and he threw the cigarette butt into the car with his backhand. The real estate market is not good now. I'm willing to spend money to buy your house because of our relationship. Don't be ungrateful. IF. Groaned as I watched the cigarette butt burn a hole in the leather seat, but I didn't say anything. Seeing that I didn't respond, Jack Smith started attacking my parents again. Uncle Tom Johnson, I see that your family is not doing well and has reached the point where you have to sell the house, so I'm willing to lend a hand. Look at Tom Johnson. What is his attitude? My parents had been good people all their lives and didn't want to fall out with their relatives during the Christmas/New Year's holiday, so they said awkwardly, Jack Smith, our family doesn't lack this money. Let's talk about selling the house later. Uncle George was dissatisfied and retorted to my mother, do you think you're at a loss? I heard my son say that the internet industry is not doing well now, and Tom Johnson is unemployed, right? If you sell the house to us, I'll let Jack Smith arrange a job for him as compensation. How about that? His words were full of contempt for me. My mother, who had always been good-tempered, couldn't help but say in a cold voice, thank you for your concern, brother. Our Tom Johnson is doing very well, and his company is running very smoothly. Uncle George just thought she was bragging and insisted on persuading her to sell the house. I was about to say a few words when I suddenly received a message on my phone from Assistant Davis. He said that guests had come to his house, and it was not convenient to call, so he sent me a long string of text messages explaining what had happened recently. It turned out that although I said not to let Jack Smith know that I had arranged the job for him, but Assistant Davis thought that Jack Smith was, after all, my relative, and the boss's relatives could not be offended. He not only arranged for Jack Smith to be the captain of the security guard team, but also made things easier for him at work. When the company employees saw this, they thought that Jack Smith's backer was Assistant Davis, so they gave in to him every week. It just so happened that our original security guards and servants were on vacation for the Christmas/New Year's holiday, so he was transferred to be in charge of security. Unexpectedly, he was so bold that he secretly drove my Rolls-Royce out of the garage to show off, taking advantage of his position. The Fiji water at his house was also stolen from me. President, Golden Coast Estate is also your property. I have already called Manager Williams, the person in charge of the estate, and he will arrange everything for you. I raised my eyebrows as I looked at the last text message. I didn't expect that the estate that Jack Smith was talking about was also under my name. I have bought too many properties over the years, and I don't even remember buying this estate in hometown. I looked up and saw a bronze gate ahead, and someone was already waiting at the door. Jack Smith patted the steering wheel. Golden Coast Estate is here. Let's get out of the car. As soon as I got out of the car, the person waiting at the door greeted me. Hello. I'm Manager Williams, the person in charge of Golden Coast Estate. Before he could finish speaking, Jack Smith had already grabbed his hand. I know, Assistant Davis told me. Let's go in. A trace of confusion flashed across Manager Williams's face, and then he understood and nodded quickly to lead people in. I watched the scene from behind and knew that Manager Williams had mistaken Jack Smith for me, whom Assistant Davis had mentioned. Watching the relatives surround Jack Smith and flatter him, I swallowed the words that came to my mouth. I wanted to see what Jack Smith was going to do today. My mother had some impression of this place. She tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Son, isn't this the place you mentioned before, the villa you bought for your dad and me to live in?" I nodded. That was the case. It's just that after buying it at the time, my parents only looked at the photos and said that it was too far from the CI. Ty-in had no human touch, so they didn't come to live there. Thinking of this, I patted my mother's hand. "If you don't like it here, I'll buy you a better one later." Somehow, these words were heard by Jack Smith in front, and he turned around and sneered. "Tom Johnson, you are getting better and better at bragging now. Aren't you afraid of being exposed? You dare to say anything. Can you afford this estate? You can't even afford to live in your own house, and you have to sell it. You're still bragging that you don't like my estate and want to buy a better one." A relative quickly echoed and spat at me sideways. "I think he's just jealous of you. He's jealous because you're successful and rich." "That's right, Tom Johnson. What's wrong with you now? The more you study, the smaller your mind becomes, and the more shameless you become." Listening to everyone's belittling of me, Jack Smith waved his hand triumphantly. "It's inevitable to be envied when you make money. Tom Johnson is just being normal." My parents couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to speak up for me, but I stopped them. This was a good opportunity. My parents have always been soft-hearted and have always given a face to those relatives around them who praise the high and step on the low. I had wanted them to move in with me a long time ago, but they were nostalgic and thought that the relatives in hometown were reluctant to leave. I persuaded them several times before they agreed. These relatives have always been short-sighted. Before my parents retired, they often made excuses to come to our door to ask for help and take advantage of us in various ways. They borrowed tens of thousands of dollars in bits and pieces, and they still haven't paid it back. Taking advantage of this misunderstanding, let them see the true faces of these people. At the dinner table, just after eating and before people had dispersed, Jack Smith took out a house purchase contract and threw it in front of my parents. "IKN. Your family is in urgent need of money. I'm already giving you face by offering this price. Don't be shameless." Seeing the 300,000 written on it, my dad also understood at this time. It turned out that Jack Smith's family thought they were selling the house because my work had problems and needed funds to fill the hole, so they were forcing us to sell the house at a low price. He was so angry that his face turned red. "I've treated you as a brother all these years, but you want to take advantage of me." Uncle George curled his lips and said disdainfully, "The tables have turned. Who told you to brag about having a good son all the time? My son is much more promising than your son now." A relative had already searched for this estate online and couldn't help but gasp. "Oh my, this estate costs more than $200 million. Jack Smith is really rich. Let me see, isn't this the asset of that brilliant group? I heard that their president's last name is Thompson. The President Thompson with tens of billions of dollars, right? I didn't expect that it was actually our Jack Smith. It's so honorable to say it." Jack Smith had been praised by everyone to the point where he couldn't find the edge. He put his foot on the table and was arrogant. "I was originally afraid that saying it would scare you, but now that you have discovered it yourselves, I won't hide it anymore. Tom Johnson, you say I'm so rich, would I care about your small change? Sign the contract quickly, and when I'm in a good mood, I'll arrange a miscellaneous job for you so you can earn money to support your parents." The relatives had been dazzled by the estate and had completely succumbed to Jack Smith's financial resources. They quickly followed suit and persuaded my dad to sign. Uncle George also followed suit and persuaded. "My future daughter-in-law is the mayor's daughter, someone you can't afford to offend. Honestly, sell the house, and we'll still be family. A group of people grabbed my dad's hand and forcibly pressed it on the contract. Just as they were about to succeed, the door was suddenly pushed open. Assistant Davis followed Emily Brown into the room. His expression tightened as he looked around. He shouted for people to pull the group of people away, wiped the sweat from his forehead, and trotted up to me. "President, I'm late." Emily Brown crossed her arms and sneered. "I heard that I have another boyfriend, and I want to see who is so bold." Seeing the person calling me president, everyone was stunned. "What president? Isn't Tom Johnson unemployed?" "That's right, you must have recognized the wrong person. The president is over here, it's Jack Smith." Assistant Davis ignored the group of people and only helped my dad to a chair, being careful to avoid any mistakes. Someone recognized that Emily Brown was the girlfriend on Jack Smith's phone screen and asked doubtfully, "The mayor's daughter is here? What do you mean by that? Could it be that you are single and Jack Smith is lying to us?" Emily Brown stepped forward and held my arm, saying generously, "This person is indeed lying to you, but I am not single either. My boyfriend is Fred Tom Johnson Thompson." Everyone was shocked by this sudden change and didn't know what to say for a moment. Jack Smith didn't dare to look at Emily Brown at this time and only asked Assistant Davis in a low voice, "Assistant Davis, what's going on?" Manager Williams, who was next to him, also couldn't understand and asked in a low voice, "Assistant Davis, didn't you ask me to pick up the president? Isn't it this one?" I interrupted him lightly. "Bring out a bottle of Screaming Eagle Cabernet Sauvignon from the third row of shelves in the wine cellar. My dad likes to drink this." Manager Williams's eyes widened, and he couldn't help but say, "How do you know where that bottle of wine is?" Uncle George was stunned and became angry. "Tom Johnson, what are you doing here? Pretending? Is this your house that you're starting to order people around? And this person, he called you president as soon as he came up. How much money did you spend to find these people?" Uncle George didn't know Assistant Davis and didn't know what was going on. He saw Assistant Davis calling me president and thought that this was an actor I had hired to put on a show. Before I could say anything, Emily Brown sneered. "What, I was also invited by Tom Johnson to put on a show?" Everyone present knew that she was the mayor's daughter, and now they no longer doubted my identity. Jack Smith was a little flustered. He called Assistant Davis a few times, but didn't get a response. He quickly explained to him in a good-natured manner, "Assistant Davis, I didn't mean to touch the boss's things. I just thought it was the Christmas/New Year's holiday and wanted to treat my family to a good meal." Assistant Davis glanced at him coldly and sneered, "If you want to explain, just go and explain to my boss, won't you?" He pointed at me and mocked, "Isn't he sitting there? Go and tell him yourself." Jack Smith saw me following Assistant Davis's hand, and his tone still carried a bit of disbelief. "You said Tom Johnson, how could he be the president? Isn't he bankrupt and unemployed?" Assistant Davis said unhappily, "Who told you the president was bankrupt?" Jack Smith's face turned red, but he still refused to believe it. "His family is selling the house to save money. Isn't that a failed business and bankruptcy?" Hearing this, Assistant Davis didn't know where to start to refute for a moment. The president bought a new house for his parents, so they are selling the old house. Does he need this little bit of money with tens of billions of dollars? Jack Smith seemed to have been choked by the neck and couldn't say anything. Assistant Davis's face darkened, and he stretched out his hand. "Give me the car key. Jack Smith, you drove the president's Rolls-Royce out without permission and pretended that the president's estate was yours. These things have violated the employee contract. At first, the president was kind-hearted and secretly asked me to arrange a job for you because of your cousin relationship. Now, you're fired." The relatives who had been watching the show all understood at this time. It turned out that I was the real president, and Jack Smith had been bragging all along. Manager Williams quickly stepped forward to apologize to me. Seeing that he was also deceived, I waved my hand and didn't say anything. Perhaps seeing that I was easy to talk to, the group of relatives immediately gathered around and started to please me. I said, "Tom Johnson was good at studying when he was a child. How could he be a failure when he grows up?" That's right, I thought there was something wrong with Jack Smith. Now that I look at it, he was indeed pretending. "Tom Johnson, when will you come to Aunt Susan's house for a visit? I haven't seen you for so many years, and Aunt Susan misses you." A group of people surrounded me so tightly that I couldn't see the coldness they had shown me before. I was amazed at the speed at which they changed their faces and gave Assistant Davis a look. He quickly led my parents and me out of the crowd. "Sorry, the president still has things to deal with and has to leave first." Seeing that I was indifferent, they wanted to build a relationship with my parents again. But that scene before had already made my parents see the true faces of this group of people. The two of them were rarely tough and left me without looking back. Assistant Davis sent us home and left after settling us down. I transferred a generous overtime pay to him and asked him to go back and have a good Christmas/New Year's holiday. Not long after returning home, the doorbell rang again. I thought Assistant Davis had forgotten something, but when I opened the door, it was Jack Smith's family. Jack Smith rubbed his hands and was full of flattery. "O.M. Johnson, I was wrong to use your car and house to brag. I apologize to you. Look, we're all relatives. Can you give me a small company to practice with?" My mother's eyes widened, as if she didn't expect Jack Smith to be so shameless. One second he was bullying others and wanted to seize our family's property, and the next second he could shamelessly ask me to give him a company. Uncle George quickly squeezed in through the crack in the door. "That's right, sister-in-law, we're family. It's not safe to let outsiders manage our own family's property. Our Jack Smith is just lacking an opportunity to train. I know Tom Johnson is now the president and has dozens of companies, big and small, so you can give Jack Smith one." They said this as a matter of course, as if I would be letting them down if I didn't agree. Before I could speak, Emily Brown had already become impatient and didn't give them any face, saying coldly, "You want a company? Does he have the ability? If he had the ability, he wouldn't have been a security guard for so many years without being promoted." Exposed by Emily Brown, Jack Smith was anxious and angry, but he didn't dare to get angry at Emily Brown, so he pointed at my nose and cursed. "Tom Johnson, you're capable now, and you're starting to act like it, right? I'm telling you, if you don't give me a company today, don't regret it later," I said impatiently. "If you don't leave, I'll call the police." Uncle George was so angry, but seeing the property management coming to the door, he didn't dare to cause trouble and had to leave with his family in disgrace. I discussed it with my parents and asked them to live in the estate directly, and the house was handed over to the real estate agent to sell. I had originally planned to take my parents away after the Christmas/New Year's holiday, but I didn't expect that a video about me would suddenly appear online. In the video, Jack Smith cried to the camera, saying that Tom Johnson, the famous resident with tens of billions of dollars in Seaside City, was his cousin. He said that I had no regard for old relationships and that he had followed me for several years, but I fired him because he drove my Rolls-Royce. He also said that Emily Brown originally liked him, but I interfered and stole her heart. As he spoke, he also threw out some photos, all of which were photos he had secretly taken when Emily Brown came to the workplace to find me, as well as self-portraits posted on Emily Brown's social media. Emily Brown almost laughed out loud when she saw him fabricating things. "Am I blind? Would I like someone like this?" I quickly comforted her and told her not to be angry about such trivial matters. But what I didn't expect was that before I could decide how to deal with it, this news broke. With the reposts of some big influencers, many people rushed to my account to scold me for being ungrateful and cold-blooded towards my family. They also scolded me for being a male third party and interfering in other people's relationships. I sensed something was wrong and asked Assistant Davis to investigate. Only then did I realize that a rival company had seen that I was developing too well, so they secretly contacted Jack Smith to join forces to create black material to ruin my reputation. Many of those who scolded me were hired water armies from rival companies. The mess that Jack Smith had created had indeed had a significant impact on me. Seeing the falling stock price due to public opinion, the board of directors came to me specifically to ask about it. At the same time, my group of relatives also posted videos, accusing me of being indifferent to my family. They had flattered me in various ways before, but I had kept them out. Seeing that they couldn't get any benefits from me, they turned around and hooked up with the rival company, and all kinds of fabricated rumors followed one after another. The netizens who didn't believe it at first were also shaken. Then if what Jack Smith said is false, it's impossible for so many of his relatives to be lying, right? To be alienated to this extent, it can be seen that Tom Johnson usually has problems with his character, which is why so many relatives around him can't stand him. I heard that Jack Smith was going to buy the house to help his cousin when he thought Tom Johnson was having financial difficulties and wanted to sell the house. There's such a thing? Tom Johnson is too much, isn't he repaying kindness with ingratitude? Brothers, go to the website to write a letter of complaint and report his company. Seeing that I had become the target of public criticism, Jack Smith called me triumphantly. Tom Johnson, I told you a long time ago, it's not a good thing to piss me off. Now that the rival company is helping me, are you still going to fight me? If you are willing to give me one of the companies under your command now, I can consider changing my tune and telling everyone that it was all a misunderstanding before. By the way, it's different now. I want more than just this price. Your Rolls Royce is not bad, and that estate, give them to me together. I smiled coldly and pressed the record button, throwing a sentence at him. If you like dreaming so much, give yourself a bat. I would rather throw them all in the water than give you even a little bit. Jack Smith was blocked by me and gritted his teeth. Okay. Don't regret it. The online accusations against me were deafening. My dad accidentally saw them while browsing social media, argued with some people, and got so worked up that he was hospitalized with high blood pressure. Seeing my father lying in the hospital bed, I was completely enraged and didn't want to give them any more leeway. I closed the hospital room door and called Assistant Davis. Get the PR department in here for a meeting. Before the PR department could even move, many of the negative posts about me online had been deleted. Jack Smith immediately started a live stream, saying that I was trying to silence him, afraid he would say things that were unfavorable to me. Netizens are easily swayed and easily provoked. Seeing the posts criticizing me disappear, they became even more fiercely critical. Assistant Davis looked troubled and told me that the deletion of the posts was a self-directed act by the competitors' online trolls. I sneered. In that case, let's start our live stream. The news that I was going to start a live stream immediately went viral, and everyone wanted to see how I would try to justify myself. On the day the live stream started, a large group of people flooded into my channel, aggressive and hostile. Jack Smith said he followed you for so many years, and you fired him just like that. How do you explain that? I raised an eyebrow and took out the recording backup from back then. His family asked me to find him a job back then. If it weren't for me, he probably wouldn't even be able to work as a security guard. Hearing this, Jack Smith, who was lurking in my live stream, became anxious and quickly typed a rebuttal. What do you mean I relied on you? I got into the company based on my abilities. What does it have to do with you? He tried to argue. My dad asked you to help me arrange a job back then, and you refused. I found my current job based on my abilities. Hearing him still bragging, I scoffed and displayed his resume and the company's entry requirements on camera. In our company, even the security guard has to have at least an associate's degree. But Jack Smith only graduated from junior high school, yet he was able to become the head security guard as soon as he joined the company, all because I was secretly taking care of him. If I were a cold-blooded and ruthless person to my family, how could I have kept him around? The curses in the comments lessened a little. I also took out a few photo albums. Emily Brown and I were together in college and were each other's first love. VE. There was no such thing as me being a homewrecker. Looking at the various photos, netizens said they were full of dog food. I knew something wasn't right. How could a normal couple not have a single photo together? Yeah, a lot of the photos are blurry. It's obvious that they were taken from a distance, and the angles are weird. Jack Smith is so disgusting. He not only stole someone else's car and house and pretended they were his, but he even tried to steal someone's girlfriend. I also took out a pile of chat logs, all of which were records of those relatives asking my family for money in the past. My parents were kind-hearted and didn't even ask them to write IOUs, but directly transferred the money. Seeing those loan records, the commenters also realized they had been deceived and began to curse those relatives for lying. I seized the opportunity to play the recording from the Rolls-Royce that day. As the conversation rang out in the live stream, the comments became even more intense. Everyone didn't expect that what Jack Smith called borrowing his cousin's car for a while was the truth. Hearing that he thought my family was short of money and took the opportunity to force us to sell our house at a low price, netizens completely understood Jack Smith's character. Someone like this got off too easily with just being fired. What is ingratitude? This is ingratitude. He's too good at bragging. He secretly took someone else's car out to show off as his own. Wasn't he asking for it when he got caught? I'm sorry, I was deceived by Jack Smith before. I thought he was the victim. I didn't expect him to bite the hand that feeds him. As I released the recording of Jack Smith calling the company, the crowd was furious, and Jack Smith was immediately trending. How can people be so greedy? No wonder they had to hide it from Jack Smith when they were helping him find a job back then. If this kind of person knew that a relative was doing well, they would climb up and leech off them. He's so shameless. They didn't pursue the matter out of consideration for their relatives, but he pushed his luck and wanted the company. He should take a look at whether he's worthy. If I remember correctly, this is considered extortion. Fred Tom Johnson Thompson can sue him. Seeing the public opinion reverse, I didn't plan to show any mercy this time. The truth is, when I give these people face, it only makes them think I'm easy to bully, and they become even more outrageous. I found a lawyer and arranged for them to collect the debts according to the chat logs while filing a lawsuit against Jack Smith. There was a hole burned in the leather seat of my Rolls-Royce from a cigarette butt, and it would cost hundreds of thousands just to repair the car, plus the online slander against me, and so on. Jack Smith would have to pay a lot of money. The competitors' behind-the-scenes manipulation was exposed, and facing questions from reporters, they could only run away with their heads in their hands, and the stock price was also affected and fell a lot. Just as I breathed a sigh of relief, the hospital called and said that my dad had been beaten up by Jack Smith, who had broken in, and had just been sent to the ICU. I rushed to the hospital and saw Jack Smith being held on the ground. He struggled with red eyes and spat at me fiercely when he saw me. It's all your fault for forcing me. I just wanted a company, but you not only wouldn't give it to me, but you also wanted to sue me. I just burned a hole in the car seat, and you want me to pay hundreds of thousands. And all sorts of other nonsense charges. My parents are going to be forced to sell their house. Are you satisfied now? I looked at him coldly and said sarcastically, "Aren't these all things you did yourself? After I found out that you were secretly showing off my assets, I just fired you. Did I hold you accountable? But you not only weren't grateful for my leniency, And see why, but you were insatiable and wanted to take more from me. I shook my head, looking at the disheveled Jack Smith. Am I the one who harmed you? It's your greed. The blood drained from Jack Smith's face, and he finally calmed down. He looked at the police holding him down and the blood stains on the ground, and then he realized what he had done. Immediately, he burst into tears. Tom Johnson, I was wrong. Please let me go this time. We're family. You're a president with billions of dollars. Just a little bit of what you have would be enough for me to live on for the rest of my life, so I got greedy. We're all family. Don't send me in. I still have parents to take care of. I looked at Jack Smith, who was finally starting to feel scared, and smiled mockingly. Now you know we're family? When you mistakenly thought I was bankrupt and wanted to force my parents to sell their house for $300,000, why didn't you remember that? You said that a little bit of what I have would be enough for you to live comfortably, but why should I give you money for nothing? Wasn't it enough that I found you a comfortable and well-paid job? Jack Smith, you just hurt my dad. How can you have the nerve to say the word family now? Being forced into silence by my series of questions, Jack Smith had no choice but to look at my mom with a pale face. Aunt Mary, you watched me grow up. Please forgive me this time. My mom stepped forward and slapped him hard, angrily saying, Your uncle also watched you grow up. Why didn't you think of him as family when you attacked him just now? Uncle George's family stood beside them, looking at the blood stains on the ground, and were too embarrassed to say a word of persuasion, wiping away their tears as they watched Jack Smith being escorted into the police car. After this incident, I immediately strengthened the security at the hospital, fearing that there would be more people with muddled minds coming to cause trouble. Fortunate. My dad wasn't seriously injured and had almost recovered after lying in the ICU for a few days. During this time, Emily Brown and I stayed with him in the hospital bed, fearing that the old man's mood would be affected. My dad patted my hand and said with emotion, Now I can see the true colors of these relatives and friends. Give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. I sighed and comforted him. It's all in the past. Those relatives still wanted to argue with me and try to play the emotional card to get out of paying back the money they owed my family. You don't lack these few $1,000s. Why are you being so stingy? I wasn't surprised by their faces and just sent them a court summons through a lawyer. Seeing that I was serious, they didn't dare to argue anymore and honestly paid back the money. It added up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. They were right about one thing. I didn't lack that little bit of money now. After Emily Brown found out, she suggested that I donate the money to the orphanage to give it to people who really needed it. That was a good idea, and I immediately agreed. Seeing that I would rather do charity than give them the money, those relatives' faces turned green. After my father recovered from his injuries, I took my family to see the beach house I bought for them in Miami Beach. On the day the plane landed, Jack Smith's sentence was just handed down. The crimes of defamation and intentional injury were added together, and he was sentenced to 15 years in one. This time, Uncle George kowtowed at the door for a whole night, but my dad didn't agree to a settlement. That night, he poured himself a glass of wine and shook his head with emotion. It's all greed that harms people. The salary I gave Jack Smith wasn't low. If he had been honest and worked hard, he could have lived a good life. Unfortunately, people can't be greedy. If they are greedy, they may lose what they already have.